So I'd like to welcome everyone back after our break to the 8-petaled Lotus of meditation and healing with Lama Losang. Lama Losang, please give us some teachings on the practices that are associated with healing. So thank you.
All right, we've been talking about the metal element and the organs associated with those, which are the lungs and the large intestine. And so I was beginning to talk about the emotion and the importance of emotions in Asian medicine and the important role that they play when they are not in balance, or if we haven't tamed our mind appropriately, it is the source of problems and illness and dis-ease. So with this, it's unresolved grief is the underlying aspect of this element. For example, not letting go of our past resentments, holding onto grudges, personal losses, low self-esteem, lack of a sense of self-worth and value. These are the issues associated with this element, and acceptance can be difficult for all of us. But it is important antidote, for suffering, that we attend to our emotional world. We may want things to be different, but suppressing grief is really unhealthy for our body, mind, and spirit, but especially this particular metal element. As the metal element is connected with the lungs, as well as the large intestine, this predisposes us to physical symptoms such as asthma, bronchitis, pneumonia, bowel problems. So our emotions also play an important role in health and healing, as we've been saying throughout. And our capacity to balance the emotions is critical. So we've talked briefly as we went around updating, the other elements. There are inner factors of disease. These are the emotions such as fear, anger, overexcitement, worry, grief. These are actual causes of disease. And the external factors are those climatic, environmental factors that we talked about, which are also the components in our health and well-being. And those are the heat, the cold, dry, damp, wind. Those are the things that we associate with the elements as well. So with the metal element, it's dry, as we mentioned. And there are these inner and outer factors of disease for each of the elements, as we've talked about. So with the metal, our emotions are often most affected by grief, sorrow, separation, change. And so we have, to have the right view, accepting that, as the Buddha taught, that all meeting ends in parting, and this is of the utmost importance, knowing that change is inevitable. And like the changing of the seasons, we cannot hold on to anything, and everything is a continual process of flux and change. So whether it's a loved one, a pet, a job, a way of life, you name it, it is going to change. We can be sure of that. And so we have to learn the ability of acceptance and letting go. And often that is a source of great consternation and suffering for us. So whether we need to understand the nature of reality, and that's why meditation is the first of our taming of the mind and self-cultivation. We have to be in line with reality. So that is, our gross clinging and subtle clinging to ephemeral ups and downs in life only brings added suffering. So the degree of our clinging is the degree of our suffering, as we've said. And our attachments and aversions and those kinds of things, if we hang on to them, they are sources of imbalance for us. So for all of us, there's difficulties that we must face in life. We know that. We've all had that experience. We're sometimes faced with a choice we have to make. And, we wake up sometimes in the morning with dread and, we have choices we have to make. We can use some substances. Some people rely on food or drugs to avoid the pain, alcohol. We can embrace the challenge that we've been given with determination and focus and mindfulness, or with the drugs in some way to mask what we're dealing with. So we have a choice always. And the events in our life are one thing, the way we perceive them can be quite another. So whether you think you can do something, you're right, or whether you think you can't do something, you're right. It's all a matter of looking at obstacles as obstacles or looking at them as opportunities, basically. So we can look at causes and conditions that can activate genes as well. There's the new field of epigenetics is fascinating, and our heredity predisposes us to a certain comes into play. But there are other factors in place which switch them on. And there are many factors that create disease. And suffice it to say that our mental attitude is key to our health and happiness. So these are the things that we've been talking about. And epigenetics, our lifestyle, is as important as our genetic, if not more so. So how we view things, our view of the nature of reality and our situation is imperative to how we deal with it. So the metal element is generally connected to the father as well. And we said that earth is associated with the mother. The metal element is associated with the father. And we often get our sense of self-worth from the authority figure in many houses, households, which is the father. And of course, trying to get recognition from the outside world never works. So for all of us, climbing up the corporate ladder or attaining a PhD or striving for a position of authority is never satisfying in and of itself. There's always some new thing out there. It's never enough. So the need for respect and recognition is an important focal point with one who has an imbalance here, that outside recognition. So unfortunately, we seem to be losing, if we look at the world around us, we seem to be losing the natural display of respect in our culture for others and even for ourselves. So this may be having far-reaching consequences in our health. In the yogic tradition, there's a greeting, of great significance. If you in yoga classes, or if you're in India, or the word is namaste, which means I bow to the divine with you. So there's the mudra and namaste. So that is I bow to the divine within you. And usually accompanied, with that feeling of hands folded in prayer position and a feeling of respect. It means that I bow to your essential goodness. In Japan, it's similar, with bowing to one another. In Tibet, we meet one another with folded hands and say Tashi Delek, which, basically means I wish you good luck and all auspiciousness. And so these are wonderful sentiments that awaken our true nature, and the wish for good fortune for others, acknowledging the good within each of us, is healing, both for the giver and for the receiver. So it's, when we look around and we see the lack of respect that we have for one another, and the deterioration of our care follows, our caring. So to cultivate this respect is also important, and in the realm of this metal element. So I briefly mentioned the vitamin D. So as the days get shorter and the nights longer, and weather can be inclement, so we don't get out as much, we may need to supplement our vitamin D levels, which we naturally get from the sun. with taking extra vitamin D as we approach the winter for our immune system. So that grants us the capacity, to fight off pathogens resulting in colds and flus and those kinds of things. The sun is very important for our good health. It communicates with every cell of our body. And vitamin D as a hormone is important for us. So taking vitamin D, and that's why I mentioned when you have your blood work, check your vitamin D levels. So it says the best time, to recharge our solar batteries is to go in the morning for about 20 minutes if you can, and expose as much skin as you can. Understandably, we're talking about how cold it is, freezing temperatures. You're not likely to do that. But when you can, that is a source. We're like solar collectors, and it is important to get out in nature, to breathe fresh air, and to have the sun on our bodies. It relaxes the body, it helps the healing. So we just have to be in line again with the natural process of being a human being on planet Earth. So a little bit about the functions of the lung. The lungs extend from the diaphragm, that large dome muscle that is underneath the rib cage, to above the collarbone. So the lungs really do take up a large space in our chest, and they're divided into sections called lobes, and the whole system branches out into hundreds of millions of alveoli. And those are the things that receive the chi from the heavens. The lungs are a primary source of energy, as I mentioned. We can go for a while without eating and drinking. We can't go long without breathing. And so our lungs are the source of chi, along with the food that we eat and along with our ancestral energy that we get from our genetic energy from our parents. Those are the three sources of energy that animate us and give us vitality: the air that we breathe, the food that we eat, and the natural genetic predisposition that we get from our ancestors and our parents. So the principal muscle is the diaphragm, and it's when we inhale, this mechanism is taking in oxygen and removing the carbon dioxide. And as we mentioned, it's best to breathe through the nose. The nose hairs filter, as well as help with the temperature of the air when you go out and it's cold. You have to warm the air so you don't chill your lungs. And mucus that we mentioned in the nose also helps filter the small particles. Mucus is a part of our immune system as well. So from an Eastern Asian point of view, the lungs, again, control the chi and the breathing. We're taking in all the time, letting go, taking in new concepts, ideas, absorbing what we can use and releasing what we no longer need. This is the exchange of energy with the lungs and the large intestine. So we're taking in what we need and letting go what we no longer need. And the lungs extract this clean energy from the air that we breathe and combines it with the food energy from what we eat. And that creates and distributes energy throughout the body. And I mentioned the Wei Qi, or the defensive Qi, that is on the skin level, and mentioned this is an immune system barrier protecting the body from illness. And the Wei Qi goes deep into the organs when we're sleeping to heal the organs. So we don't have the same level of Wei Qi or protective Qi at the superficial level of our skin. And I mentioned not being, having an overhead fan or something like that blowing on you, because because you don't have that protective Qi at night when you're sleeping. It is more, it can penetrate through the pores and create a wind cold invasion and a variety of symptoms, wind cold conditions that penetrate through the pores of the skin and create imbalance. And if we're weak and we're vulnerable to colds and flus, then we are going to be having frequent colds in that way. strong Wei Qi keeps us healthy. That's why I mentioned the fans. We don't want to do that. And also mentioned, I think that the skin is like a third lung. You know, it breathes, has its own respiration, and the lung issues can manifest on the skin as well. And sometimes if you have a skin irritation, you're given eczema or some situation where it is suppressed and there's a cortisone or a topical kind of anti-inflammatory that is given, it pushes the disease process even deeper. So we want to allow that toxin to come out of the body. I mentioned saunas. Infrared saunas are wonderful. They help to cleanse the skin. They help remove pathogens through our sweat, through perspiration. Saunas are great for detoxing the body through perspiration. So this is important. And the functions of the large intestine, I think we're pretty familiar with. It does absorb water and electrolytes, salts, cellulose from food, and forms feces. It houses the digestive bacteria and aids in the absorption and breakdown of ingested foods. That's the last way we absorb through the large intestine. It also is the source of our vitamin B12. There's an intrinsic factor that B12 is made in our body, but some people don't have that intrinsic factor and will be B12 deficient. And I also mentioned that if you're getting a blood test, test your B12 levels, because it's very important for your immune system and overall energy, vitality. And, you know, it's a lot of people are anemic, and the B12, they'll be sluggish, they'll be weak, they'll be tired, and the B12, if it is below the threshold needed, that will exacerbate those symptoms. And if you're taking supplemental B12, use a sublingual B12. So that means that it's absorbed under the tongue. And so it's dissolved under the tongue. You can chew it up and just let it dissolve under the tongue rather than taking it as part of a B complex. The hydrochloric acid and other digestive enzymes will render it pretty much ineffective. So the large intestine is about 5 feet long, is about 2.5 inches in diameter. That can vary, but and it's here again that the B12 is manufactured. And if you don't have the intrinsic factor, you will need to have B12 injections or take it sublingually. Check your B12. So it's a very important vitamin for energy and vitality, and often missing in or low in vegans in particular. So important to check it. And the colon is the garbage man of the body. It rids toxins, takes the garbage out. And as I mentioned, the peak time for the large intestine is 5 to 7 a.m. So you can train your body. If you have problems with constipation, give yourself time. And first thing in the morning, you can train your body to do its job as the garbage man to get rid of toxic waste. And that is the natural time for that. Just like we mentioned, 7 to 9 is the time where the next thing is for the stomach to do its job of rotting and ripening and digesting food. So we want to eliminate, and then we can take in our meal. So just giving yourself enough time. We're always in such a rush, have time by sitting and giving yourself time and letting your body do its job. And that should be a natural daily morning routine. If you're not moving your bowels every day, that is a problem. That should be an everyday occurrence. And if, diarrhea and constipation can be big problems, but part of that problem can often be the lack of good bacteria, as we mentioned, which is stored in the large intestine. It needs to be abundant and balanced. So we talk about the probiotics and the prebiotics. Prebiotics are what the probiotics eat, and they are undigestible fibers. So they also don't contribute to, you know, a carbohydrate intake. And fermented foods are the best. You know, that's better than taking a pill. We don't know how long the pill has been on some shelf. And these are active, alive substances. And so that would be the case if we're eating fermented foods that are alive. So the large intestine, you know, receives the food and drink from the small intestine, excretes it out of the body. It's the official of eliminating toxic waste, the garbage man of the body, and is the end of the line of our digestive process. So it's one big long tube, basically, from your mouth to your anus. And there's a lots. It's an enclosed a tube, really, and from start to finish, everything needs to work properly, and we have to have the right ingredients to have it work properly. So there is more and more information about the gut biome. You know, we talk about the gut being the second brain. It may be the first brain. It also manufactures serotonin and other neurotransmitters in your gut, you know, and that goes to your brain. And if you don't have those neurotransmitters available, your cognition and emotions will be affected. So you have to take good care of your gut. And of course, when we think of healing behaviors, that would be our breathing. So I mentioned pranayama in yoga. There are breathing exercises that are associated always with qigong exercises. We did some of those, but it is always in harmony with the movement and the breathing. So you'll always see, you know, in Asia, people doing their thing, their the Tai Chi, for example, first thing in the morning when I was in China, you'd see them in the parks doing a Tai Chi or Qigong. And that is a very healthy way to start the day. And you can, you know, we say that the skin is like a third lung. You can use a dry brush, you know, for dry brushing your skin, removing toxins and dead skin and things like that. That is also helpful for healthy skin. You know, abdominal breathing, you know, deep breathing occurs naturally with awareness focused on, you know, that dantian, the point 3-finger was below the navel movement center in the martial arts. We focus the awareness there, but there are 3 dantians, the dantian in the center of the head or the third eye, we would say, and the heart dantian and the lower dantian. So the lower dantian has to do with our vitality. It's the movement center. It's the focus of the martial arts and exercise like that. But for qigong, and when you're doing healing qigong or those kinds of things, the center, the heart center is really important. And for our meditation and our other kinds of cultivation, qi cultivation, the upper dantian of the third eye area that can be opened as well, the wisdom eye. Dantian is the Chinese word, and dan means elixir, and tian is like field, elixir field. So it is a sea of energy. These are seas of energy that there are chakras as well, but seas of energy that can be tapped into. So when you do your breath work, you focus your mind's attention on this area of the body and feel your, for example, the lower dantian, the abdomen expanding when you breathe and contracting when you breathe out. And you do this slowly with mindfulness so that you bring your attention to it. It is said that the energy goes where the mind goes. So if we are just like we were doing the acupressure, when we apply a pressure to a point, we direct our awareness to that spot and the chi will follow. So if you take time to practice this daily, your mind will automatically attend to it, and the abdominal breathing will become very natural. We'll be doing the healing sound for the lungs after our break. And the virtue associated with this is ethics or moral uprightness. So this enlightened quality, the paramita or virtue that we associate with this element is the enlightened quality of virtuous and ethical behavior, morality, self-discipline, personal integrity, honor, harmlessness. This is the essence of this virtue. And it is through our love and compassion that we do not harm others in our thoughts, our speech, our actions. So we must realize that unethical behavior is always the cause of suffering and unhappiness. When we say, may you have happiness and the causes of happiness, the causes of happiness are, our loving kindness, our upright, ethical behavior is a part of that. And practicing the perfection of ethics, we are free of negativity, we are at ease, naturally confident and happy because we're not carrying any underlying sense of guilt or remorse. We have nothing to hide. Ethical behavior. Healing foods, we can talk about, good foods to boost our metal element. Includes the veggies, we say white veggies, such as mushrooms, cauliflower, root vegetables, such as parsnips, turnips, artichokes, savory, spicy, pungent food. We mentioned pungent. So onion, garlic, chives, lotus, tofu, tempeh. So tempeh is really preferable to the tofu. The tempeh is fermented, so you get the benefit of the tempeh, which is very nutritious, nutrient dense, but it's also fermented. Radish, especially daikon, is a particular radish. Pears are nourishing. We mentioned wasabi, which is spicy. So pungent herbs such as cloves, chili peppers, ginger, basil, rosemary are all great additions. Aromatherapy, if we think about sometimes, we're talking about the nose and breathing and our sense of smell, which is associated with this element. Essential oils such as chamomile, geranium, peppermint is good for the lungs as well as for headaches. And you can put essential oils on the temples, for example, or put a little in your hand and just inhale it. For phlegm, tea tree oil, sandalwood, rosemary, in a steam inhalation, that can be good. And to aid in constipation, fennel, cumin, clove, ginger. Again, the same way, you can just put a little in your hand and breathe it. So herbal teas, we might consider for the lungs, burdock root. Cordyceps is my favorite. It is something that is was natural in Tibet. When I was there, they would dig up this little cordyceps root. It's actually a very interesting thing from a caterpillar. And comfrey also is helpful for the lungs, sore throat, slippery elm, mullein. These are all associated with the metal element. And to a moderate degree, Cascara sagrada. Cascara is a bowel irritant, and for constipation, rhubarb, licorice, those are all used for constipation. All right, any quick questions on anything that we just went over with the metal element? And time goes by so fast, we will next do our final element, the water element, in just a moment. If there's no questions, we'll continue.
Taking a look, I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing a question in the chat right now. But if anyone has a question, you can use the raise hand function, or you can, I think you can unmute your mic. I'm not sure. If you're having trouble.
And so I think maybe we will put our water, we'll go back to the slides.
Okay.
I don't think.
Excuse me, there is one question. Sue Ellen has a question.
No, this is more of a request.
Yes, ma'am.
Elder, can you your bright, that bright light coming out of your screen is really irritating. Is it possible you could close your curtains or something?
Bright light.
Yeah, can't you guys see it? It's behind him.
I see. Yeah, I see. What
I don't know. I don't. And then Lama Losang, for future, your little lighting bowls on the blue behind you, that lights up like a little spotlight too. So,
yes,
you know.
I see that it is doing that. Yes.
Okay. And while it's very pretty, it's also difficult to have it flashing at me. So.
Oh,
yes.
I see.
All right. So sorry to whine. Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay. So Helder, because of the, I see what she's talking about. It is quite bright. Because there you go. There you go. Yeah, he switched it over.
Actually, it just when the sun comes out from behind the trees, it'll light up a little bit. So when we go to our break, I will go ahead and attend to that. I'll have to get up and find out where that's coming from, and I'll take care of it. But for the time being, you'll get to cultivate patience.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so Lama, yes, thanks very much. I'd say don't do any standing on top of ladders for us,
No,
please.
No, I won't have to stand on any ladders.
Yeah, and Helder, thanks for using the photo. Really do appreciate using the photo instead of the bright light, because it is a little bit difficult for people with visual problems. So I do apologize. It's that time of day in Ohio where the sun is streaming in, and we love it, but our video equipment does not love it. So thanks very much for using the photo instead. Okay, here we go. I'm going to have the screen share and we'll get to the next thing. Okay, so the next element.
Yes. Winter and
water.
The water element, yes.
Okay.
So we'll just go around this circle again. So we're talking about the water element. The color is usually associated with blue or black. So again, if we look at your wardrobe, it's not unusual for people to really have a strong attraction to blue or black. And if we look at your wardrobe, you may see predominance of blue or black. It can be like that. Our adrenals take a big hit too. We were talking about the liver as an organ that's important, but the kidneys, well, they're all important, but the kidneys also take a beating because of the use of stimulants and things like that that are diuretic and push fluids. And because of our stresses, the adrenaline and other hormones that are secreted by the adrenals as a part of a fight or flight response exhausts the kidney energy and the adrenals, which sit on top, which sit on top of the kidney. And so blue or black also is, we see on the face. When you see those dark circles under your eyes, that is kidney. That's exhausted. It can also be a sign of allergies that are associated with the kidneys as well, and adrenal insufficiency. So the image of water, also takes many forms. We have seas and frozen lakes and streams and all kinds of water in all of its different phases, steam and just liquid water and ice. 70% of our planet is water, and 60% of our human body consists of water. So we have a very strong influence with this element. It has to do with storage. So stored in the kidneys is our ancestral energy. It is said to be stored in our kidneys. The bladder is associated with our reserve of energy. And when we get run down, our reserves get run down and we're running on empty. Our tank is empty. So often it is due by taking too much energy out of the body, and often that has to do with our fight or flight response. We're constantly in this state of anxiety, stress. So this takes its effect in the water element. The ears are associated with this. The ears actually look like a little kidney. They're kidney shaped and has to do with our hearing. So problems with hearing are associated with the water element. Urine is the fluid, understandably. Head hair is associated with the water element. So early on, if you're having premature balding or premature graying or receding hairlines early on, that has to do with kidney function. It's ancestral as well. We say that our ancestral energy, our genetic energy is stored in the kidneys. So often we'll see that. So if you, for male pattern balding, for example, people say is a genetic, but it is really kidney related. So that is a situation that when we talk about epigenetics, if you're not stressed to the max and your adrenals are still working and your kidney function is good, you will have a good, rich, full head of hair. In Asia, men in particular like to have a full black head of hair. It connotes a strong ancestral energy and overall health as we age. So there are certain herbs that can be used to help that the kidney function. So head hair, if it's thin, if it's falling out, if it's receding, those are all signs of kidney deficiency. The bones are also associated again with the kidney. So osteoporosis, osteopenia. Osteopenia is something that, it begins the process, but if you live long enough, you're going to get some bone loss. But we can protect our bones again through exercise, weight-bearing kinds of things, right diet, and getting enough sleep and hydration. So hydration for the kidneys is very important. It's through hydration that the kidneys are able to get flushed. And if your urine is yellow, you're dehydrated. So a rule of thumb is your weight in half that many ounces a day. That should be the amount of fluid you take. But that's just not glasses of water. I mean, if you're drinking soup or you're drinking other kinds of things, if foods have a certain amount of fluids in them, but you want to have about half your body weight in ounces a day. That's a considerable amount. People don't usually drink that much, but particularly if you're using alcohol or caffeine or diuretics, you are losing electrolytes, and that's going to affect your bones. The calcium, magnesium, potassium, those all the macro minerals are important to bone health, and it'll be leached out of your bones if it's not up to par. So the kidneys and bladder. Kidneys are yin, bladder is yang, and they are in union with one another and share energy. The smell is putrid, so it's like a vase of flowers that the flowers have been in there too long, or a putrid pond, or any standing water will have that quality. And that again is a smell that is emitted from the body when the kidneys are not happy. The taste is salty. Salt helps us to store fluids, and it's been maligned to a certain degree. Usually salt is not such a big problem. It's often blamed for hypertension. If you're storing too much fluid or you have an edema, yes, that could be a problem, but it's usually the kidneys not doing their job rather than salt. And it would be good, we don't see iodized salt very much, but you do need iodine for your thyroid. That is important. So having a certain amount of iodine in your diet, and you can get iodine naturally from sea vegetables, which again are part of the water element. So, when you have sushi, the nori that wraps your sushi, or all kinds of sea vegetables, seaweeds are good. And most seafoods, shrimp and those, if you're not vegetarian, are sources of added iodine. And always, when we're talking about getting blood tests, ask for a complete thyroid test, not just TSH. The thyroid stimulating hormone is just one snapshot of things. You need to know the T4, T3, reverse T3, reverse T4, a variety of other information to see the health of your thyroid. So if you're making notes about what you want to ask your physician, and they are not inclined to do that unless there is some reason. And of course, if you have a TSH that is above 3, it's still within the parameters, or 4, which is still within the parameters of normal. That is too high, and it is showing the signs of a problem with thyroid. If you have any family members who have thyroid problems or history of family thyroid problems, definitely want to keep an eye on that. The thyroid is a very active organ and very important to make sure is healthy. Groaning is the sound of the voice. My voice has a little groan to it. I haven't been getting probably as much sleep as I need, but there's a little groan. You can hear the groan in my voice. It sounds like that, a little raspy, a little gravelly. Fear is associated with this, so it can be a variety of fears. worries, preoccupations. Cold is the climate. If you can't tolerate cold very well, again, there are yin and yang aspects to the kidneys, and they help to prevent us getting chilled. So when it's cold weather, make sure you're bundled up appropriately and stay warm in the winter. Turn up the heat if you need to. Being cold really exhausts a lot of your energy trying to stay warm. So make sure you stay comfortably warm. And the north is associated, is the direction. So yeah, so the decline for back problems, for example, one of the easiest fixes for that is hydration. Keeping the discs plumped up. What happens when you get dehydrated? The discs lose their integrity, and the vertebrae can shift, and you get a bulging disc or something, and then it impinges on the nerve, and then you've got radiating pain down your leg like sciatica or other things. And if you just stay hydrated, that goes a long way to preventing those low back problems, which are often kidney. So in balance, keep warm, stay quiet, sleep well, be at home, look within. Okay. And imbalance, overactive, exhausting your kidneys, your adrenals. Late nights, too much partying, lack of rest and sleep. We're dissipating our energy. It's too much money out of the bank. Okay. All right, so back to, water serves multiple functions in our body. It is the primary building block of every cell. It acts as an insulator, regulating the internal body temperature. It is used as a metabolism of proteins, carbohydrates. It is a primary component of our saliva, our tears, sweat, the lubrication of our joints. It acts like a shock absorber and insulates the brain. As we get older, we lose some fluid in our cerebrum, our skull, and so if we fall and we hit our head, it can create strokes and other kinds of secondary problems. So that stay hydrated. It's also important for your brain, spinal cord, and organs. We don't want to lose those fluids. Even breathing, we lose fluids. You know how if you're cleaning your glasses, you breathe on them, and the steam from your breath can moisten, and you're able to clean your glasses. But every time we breathe, we lose a certain amount of fluid, so those have to be replaced. So it again acts to flush toxins from the system through urination, and it's the best solvent to get things out of cellular storage, and dissolving minerals and soluble vitamins and many nutrients. Water carries oxygen and nutrients to all the cells of the body. So it's a big health issue for many people, dehydration. So make sure you're hydrating appropriately. That can be a big plus.
Lama, I am checking in with you because we have a question in the chat, and also after this, after questions, we might want to take our break because it's coming up to 2 o'clock. So
all right.
So let's see what let's pause for a few minutes to see what questions we might have. Feel free to write questions into chat for us.
And I see that the sun has already changed its position, and
Yay.
I don't think we're having the glare.
Yay. Okay, that's good. Hey, I tell you what, every now and then the Mother Nature helps us out. Okay, here's the first question. The questioner is saying that, of course, it's when we're looking at the idea of smell, the various smells of the various elements that are associated with the various elements for diagnostic purposes and so on. It says we can smell each other, but how do we smell ourselves, whether fragrant, scorched, putrid, and so on?
Yeah, not so easy, actually. Sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, and we're living in that situation. So we accommodate it, we get desensitized to it. So you'll have to use other modalities, or ask your loved one. But again, it is not so. That is just one of the diagnostic persons that the physician uses. But that is, as you say, it's a little easier for someone besides ourselves to assess that.
Okay. Let's see if there are any other questions in chat. Not at the moment. Is anybody who would like to ask their questions on audio? So I guess we are not getting questions on audio, so maybe this would be a time for a break. What do you think, Lama? Want to go a little bit longer, or what would you like to do?
I think maybe if we can go ahead and we take a break at this point, and then for what, 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5-minute break starting now. So we'll be returning at about 6 minutes past the hour. Okay, I'm going to turn off audio and video and pause the recording.
Thank you. So welcome back, everyone. We just want to finish up on the functions of the bladder and kidney. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know about their organs that they have, what they do, where they're located. So we'll talk a little bit about the functions of the urinary bladder, which is hollow. Again, it's the yang organ, and a muscular organ located in the pelvic cavity behind the pubic bone, the lower dantian. It is a storage pouch for the steady drip of urine, and it can be spherical or usually a little pear-shaped. At the lower end is the urethra, which we urinate through. And we can actually store up to about 750 milliliters of fluid in the bladder. That's the size of, the content of an average bottle of wine. So as we age, the bladder becomes less elastic, and sometimes we have to go more frequently. So older folks feel like they have to pee more, or even if they have a problem of incontinence, they can lose the sphincter closing all the way. And so often in women, the prolapses can also occur, creating issues. Prolapses, the integrity of the connective tissue loses its stamina, and the organ drops and can cause pressure. This is where Qigong, or you probably heard of Kegel exercises, where you kind of close the anal sphincter and draw up the energy a little bit. Doing Kegel exercises help to strengthen that muscle and connective tissue. So doing that is helpful if you do have some incontinence. If you laugh or sneeze, sometimes you lose a little fluid, and that as we age can happen. So doing the Kegel exercises is a way, as we would strengthen any muscle, that would be a good method. So in the system of medicine, the bladder stores and excretes urine, but it works in concert with all the other organs. It's sort of a synergy of the lungs and kidneys and the rest of the organs. So the kidneys are two, when we look at the kidneys, two organs that resemble kidney beans, or I said like the ear, located just above the waist, they're about 5 inches in length and about 3 inches wide, about the size of your fist, roughly, on either side. You have two kidneys. And it is true that we can manage with one kidney, but it does affect our body's capacity to function optimally. The kidneys are the official of controller of fluids, and our adrenals are located on top of the kidneys, part of the endocrine system, where the secretion of cortisol and aldosterone are important hormones for our electrolyte and mineral balance take place. I'm simplifying this a bit. It's a complex function, actually, but the controller of water in all of its aspects. So the kidneys govern reproduction as well. So any problems with pregnancy or with men, testosterone or sperm counts or motility, those kinds of things are in this domain. It produces bone marrow. The brain is part of the kidney energy, and it is seen and called a sea of bone marrow. So that is also part of this function. It regulates water movement, influences growth and development, controls our sexual energy and potency, determines our vitality, stores the inherited constitutional energy. I mentioned the Jing, which is our genetic inheritance, separates the clear fluid from the turbid. It just processes fluids at all levels. So the Eastern view concerning the kidneys is a little bit different. They actually store the essence, and it is the root of life in Asian medicine. This Jing, as it is called, is the fuel for life, and it is determined from our prenatal energy, often also called pre-heaven, our prenatal energy, the essence, and the postnatal essence too is stored here in the kidneys. And the postnatal natal essence is we mentioned there's three essences of energy. The prenatal or pre-heaven, which is our ancestral energy, the postnatal essence, which is the air that we breathe and the food that we eat, that ultimately affects our overall energy. So, if we see premature babies or babies with congenital problems, these can be due to Jing or kidney issues. But it determines our basic constitution. If we're overly sensitive to sound, sometimes hearing problems, shakiness, palsies, tremors, trembling, because it is also associated with the nervous system. Any nervous system, like uncontrolled shaking or things like that, or bones being soft or brittle, osteoporosis, and teeth are also associated with this. So a lot of dental problems, these are bones. We can't really see the internal bones, but we can see our teeth. And, people who have soft or a lot of caries or cavities, this is again associated with poor kidney energy. And then there's the head hair that we also mentioned. So that predisposition towards thinning hair or receding hairlines, premature graying, all those things. Hair falling out. The hair should be thick and full and luxurious. And when it's not, it's often due to water imbalances. So, we are taking too much money out of the bank generally when it comes to our kidneys. And the greater the demands we put on our system, the quicker our resources are used up. And excessive work, prolonged illnesses, childbirth, excessive sexual activity, and use of drugs, and these kinds of things take their toll. For women, it's childbearing that exhausts the kidneys, and for men, it's exhausting their semen. So frequent ejaculation or things like that is going to exhaust kidneys and reduce vitality. So a life of drug, sex, and rock and roll is going to dig deep into your energy reserves. So, it's not unusual that, that kidney time is it's 3 to 5 is bladder, 5 to 7 is kidney. And often, bladder time, 3 to 5, if our reserves are running down, that's the time you're going to be reaching for another cup of coffee or you're feeling sluggish. And that's unfortunately just pushing you harder. It's like beating a weak horse to run harder. We generally work the kidneys pretty hard. Not only do we not drink enough fluids to flush them, but we push them with caffeine. We gulp down energy drinks and unfortunately that are full of corn syrup and sugar and caffeine and aggravating the entire situation. And as I say, it's like beating a weak horse to run faster. That is that energy is coming from somewhere. It's not coming from the caffeine. It's coming from the drive from the adrenals and the kidneys being pushed harder. So we're in a constant fight or flight mentality on the run. Our nervous systems are just going haywire. And so what is the solution? Sleep, diet, meditation, a little tranquility, a little downtime. You have to balance your work and your rest appropriately. So the healing behaviors, as you might imagine, with the water element is when we're overwrought and not reaching our goals and potentials, we become anxious and we have to relax. We have to let go sometimes. So getting enough rest. We mentioned walking barefoot when you can to ground yourself and absorb the chi from the earth. Wonderful. And the healing foods, the salt we said is salty, so those with water imbalances tend towards salty foods. But try eating foods that are blue and black, exactly like blackberries and blueberries, plums. These kinds of things the berries are very rich and nutrient dense. These are antioxidants that also help with our memory, which is in the domain of the water element, and hydration. Did I mention hydration? Hydration, hydration, hydration. Remember to hydrate. And, hopefully you have a good source of water. And good to avoid ice cold drinks, which particularly with meals, that will chill your stomach and reduce your body's capacity to digest properly. So roasted and stewed foods, cooked foods, give us more warmth in the winter. We don't want to eat frozen things or raw things even. Raw is also cold and requires more gastric heat to digest. And the sea vegetables are good. So nori, kelp, miso is, is a fermented soy product and is also salty. So that is nourishing to the kidneys. Use Himalayan or sea salt to season, not the Mortons that have all kinds of desiccants and anti-clumping and a variety of other things. I think we mentioned that before. It's said that the pink Himalayan salt has 84 different minerals and trace elements, including calcium and a variety of other things. So use the Himalayan salt or sea salt. And they do have a moisturizing effect and a calming effect on the nervous system overall. So kidney stones can be a problem and painful, and calcium oxalate is the primary offender, and high oxalate foods can contribute to this. So unfortunately, that is spinach, rhubarb, almonds, cashews, beets, cocoa, chocolate. It should be avoided if you have that tendency. If you don't, it's not a problem. and sometimes slow oxidizers that builds up a little bit more in their system. So stay hydrated so that the urine doesn't become too concentrated. That is the same situation with gout and things like that that can occur from eating too many organ meats or things like that. So water, again, is the best solvent to remove the toxins. So you should have a good water source is where I was going with that. So you can purify your water or use some filtered or drinking water. Even in the shower, it's good to have a filter. You can get these shower heads that have charcoal filters in them, so you're not inhaling chlorine or who knows what's in the water these days. But keep your body warm. You know, women would wear an obi, that is the kind of like a belt, a sash, to keep their dantian, their lower dantian warm. And you know, in the martial arts, they have different belts. That belt was actually, again, like a sash that would keep their lower dantian, which has to do with the kidneys as well, warm, and to prevent getting chilled. And we had mentioned the different virtues in the paramitas associated with the elements. And with the water element, it is concentration. You know, it is a contemplation, meditation. So this is the enlightened quality of meditation, contemplation, mindfulness, mental stability. And our minds have a tendency to be very distracted and restless, as you may have noticed, and always moving from one thought or feeling to another. Because of this, our awareness stays fixated, you know, on our ego needs. So, and the surface areas, the emotions, we just keep engaging in the same habitual patterns of behavior. And when we train our mind by practicing meditation, we achieve focus and composure and tranquility. And that goes a long way to helping our adrenals and our stress reaction, our fight or flight response. And this, of course, this development of concentration at one point in this requires perseverance and practice, but is worth the energy we have to put into it. There are certain herbs that are appropriate. Nettle and dandelion are good for kidneys. Juniper berry, uva ursi, these are all brewed together and can make a tea. If you have bladder issues, bladder infections, they are antiseptic, anti-pathogenic, and they are very healing to the bladder as well. Okay. So I think, are there any questions about any of the two elements that we just talked about, the metal element and the water element? We had to kind of briefly go through them. Time just goes too fast, and I want to do this meditation with you on the elements, the healing sounds. Any final questions? I will mention that there's a book by Elson Haas, Haas. He's an MD, Elson Haas, and he has a book called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And the pictures that you show of our little characters and the circle with all of the correspondences actually came out of his book. I stole from him for this presentation. I know Elson, and he wouldn't mind that. But this is he wrote a book called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And for those of you who want to know more, I think I recommended another book to you, Law of the Five Elements by Diane Connolly. That is another book about the five elements that you may enjoy. All right, so with the water element again, so there's certain physical symptoms that you may experience, you know, are the adrenal weaknesses, the asthma, backache, cystitis, dark circles under the eyes. These are all things, frequent urination. Hypertension can also be a problem here. And when the bladder and kidneys are weak, it can also manifest as heart problems. There's a relationship between all of the elements and if the water element is not sufficient to balance the fire element, the fire will blaze out of control and you'll have heart or cardiovascular problems, which aren't really the problem of the fire element. It is being aggravated because the water is not sufficient to balance the energy of the fire. So all of these, as an example, all of these elements have a relationship to one another. So they all have to be in order to have good health. So we mentioned loss of hair, poor teeth, premature graying of the hair, premature aging, actually, and those kinds of things are all aspects of the water element in when it's disbalanced. Okay, if there's no questions,
There actually is a question.
Okay.
The question has arisen in the chat, Lama, and it addresses the question of caffeine. The question is, you mentioned that caffeine is detrimental to the adrenals and kidneys. What about other kinds of tea, like ginseng tea? Are those types of teas okay? Ginseng and others?
Yeah, they are. They don't have caffeine in them, actually. They are stimulating, but black tea and green tea even have caffeine, but it's the amounts and how we use it. So if we're just using it to accentuate our energy when we're so fatigued and we're driving ourselves, harder, then that is the example I use of beating a weak horse to run faster. And we're going to definitely be in deficit spending. If we're not getting the sleep, we're not hydrating properly, and we're using the caffeine in an unnatural way to support our weakness, then that's going to go downhill. The green tea is probably a better choice. It's a little softer. It has L-theanine in it. L-theanine has a nice relaxing effect on the nervous system, quite the contrary to people who have, allergies. There are people who have allergies to caffeine, to coffee. And the other thing about coffee, unfortunately, is that there was a study done, and over 60% of the coffee on the market had molds, had fungus, and that is a problem. When it's dried or processed in a particular kind of way, people get headaches and have secondary problems. And it's not the caffeine itself; it is actually the toxins, neurotoxins that come from mold, which are not so good. So you get a good quality coffee if you're drinking coffee. There's a bulletproof coffee. Dave Asbury has bulletproof, and he had a problem with molds growing up. He was very sick and could not get better. And he's made a company called Bulletproof and has a coffee that he claims is 100% mold free. Not all companies can say that. So do your due diligence. If coffee is on your daily routine, as it is mine, I do drink coffee, but you have to watch the amounts and you have to just consider the quality.
Okay.
And don't sweeten it with if you can drink it black, fine. It's the way that I generally do it, but I do use some other nootropics, mushrooms and other things in my coffee.
Okay. And does anyone else have questions? I'm not seeing any more in the chat.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Lama. So yes.
All right, so the next thing we're going to do is the method for producing the 6 healing sounds, which are associated with each of the organ systems, each of the elements. And what I'd like to do is give you a little introduction, and then you can find a comfortable position. You can have your eyes closed if you like, but in a relaxed place. You could even lie down if you want, but I don't know what your situation is at home there, but sit in a comfortable position. It would be kind of like meditation, I think. So consider this a meditation. So if you're sitting comfortably on the edge of your chair, so your spine is straight and your head is upright, or you can lie down on your back if you choose. But this would be, I'm going to give you the indications for it. And if you can do that, that would be great. Place your feet flat on the floor with the knees slightly apart. Rest the palms of the hands on the thighs, just as you would in doing a sitting meditation. Make all of your inhalations as we do this through the nose, and direct your breath into the lower abdomen. Expand the lower abdomen while inhaling and contract it when exhaling, so that the breath completely leaves the body when we're doing the exhalation with the sound, and you're no longer inhaling. When exhaling a sound, do so from the lower abdomen. Again, the focus is coming not from the throat. So we're going to do this once through. You can do this 3 times, 6 times, 9 times, whatever you have time for. We're going to be doing 6 different meditations, 6 different visualizations with the organs, and then the triple heater, which is the one of the functions of the fire element. I mentioned the heart and the small intestine when we were doing it, and said that there are also 2 functions. That is the heart protector, which is associated with the organ of the pericardium, the sac that surrounds the heart, and the triple warmer that really doesn't have any physical organ associated with it. It communicates with the 3 burning spaces: the upper, which is the lungs, heart, pericardium; the middle, the digestive organs; and the lower, the bladder and kidneys and the lower abdomen. So the inhalation through the nose remains the same for each of these 6 different sounds. The instruction and effects for each sound, I will be guiding you through it, so you'll just follow my instruction and guidance. So in that posture, just take a breath, take a nice full breath and exhale. The first sound is shh, as if you're, saying to a child, shh. And, we put our fingers to our lips and say shh. You can have that sound shh. This sound assists the wood element. The sound soothes the liver. And so inhale and breathe in a brilliant pine green color, filling the liver with kindness, patience, peace, and contentment. Inhaling kindness, patience, peace, and contentment as a brilliant pine green color. And then exhale slowly while repeating the sound shh, breathing out a murky green color and alleviating your anger, depression, frustration, indecision, and irritability. Breathing in brilliant pine green, filling the liver, which is under behind the ribs on the right side of your body, and fill it with kindness, patience, peace, and contentment. And exhale out any anger, depression, frustration, indecision, irritability as a murky colored green. Exhaust all that negative energy with the sound shh. Again, inhaling brilliant pine green into the liver, filling the liver with positive emotions, patience, peace, contentment, and exhaling along with the sound shh, breathing out a murky green color and alleviating, removing the anger, depression, frustration, indecision, and irritability. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, brilliant pine green. and with it kindness, patience, peace, and contentment. Exhaling out the murky colored green as you make the sound shh. This can be subvocal, it doesn't have to be loud, but imagine, see that murky green color and exhaling out, alleviating anger, depression, frustration, indecision, irritability. And one more time. Inhaling brilliant pine green into the liver, and with it kindness, patience, peace, and contentment. Exhaling out while repeating shh, the murky green color, and with it anger, depression, frustration, indecision, irritability. Take a breath, natural breath, relax, breathe in and breathe out. Let the visualization go. And smile down on your liver and thank it for the job that it does as a big enzyme factory, moving blood, filtering, as the official of planning and decision making. Thank it for the job that it does every day. Next will be the fire element and the heart. This heart sound, ha, like H-A-A-A, ha. This soothes the heart. So inhale a brilliant red color into the heart, filling your heart with joy, love, happiness, and compassion. And exhale out slowly while repeating ha, breathing out as a murky colored red, your sadness, agitation, cruelty, unhappiness, anxiety as a murky colored red. Inhaling the brilliant red color, filling the heart with joy, love, happiness, and compassion. And breathing out the murky colored red with the sound ha. And all of your sadness, agitation, unhappiness, anxiety as a murky colored red. Next breath in, brilliant red color to the heart, and with it, joy, love, happiness, compassion. Breathing out the murky colored red, and with it, your sadness, agitation, unhappiness, anxieties. Breathing in the red color to the heart, and with it, joy, love, happiness, and compassion. Exhaling out sadness, agitation, unhappiness, and anxiety as a murky colored red. Breathing in the red color, joy, love, happiness, and compassion. Breathing out the murky colored red, sadness, agitation, unhappiness, and anxiety. Last time, breathing in the brilliant red color, with it, joy, love, happiness, and compassion. Breathing out the murky colored red, and with it, sadness, agitation, cruelty, unhappiness, anxiety. And take a natural breath, let the visualization go. And smile down on your heart and thank it for the job that it does 24/7 in maintaining the energy of the supreme controller who governs the function of our mind, our Shen, our spirit. Thank it for the job that it does. It is the monarch of our body, mind, spirit. Smile down and thank it for the job that it does. Next is the earth element. And the sound is whoo, kind of like an owl, whoo, or as if you're blowing out a candle, whoo, whoo. This sound soothes the spleen. Inhale brilliant yellow, filling the spleen, which is on the left side in back of the ribs, opposite side of the liver, filling the spleen with security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity. Exhaling out as a murky yellow color, our clinging, our neediness, our obsessive thoughts, and worry as a murky colored yellow. Breathe in the brilliant yellow, filling the spleen with security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity. Exhale out clinging, neediness, obsessive thoughts, and worry as a murky colored yellow. Next, inhale in brilliant yellow to the spleen, and with it security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity. And exhale slowly, repeating the sound who, and breathing out the murky yellow color, alleviating your clinging, neediness, obsessive thoughts, and worry as a murky colored yellow. Breathe in the brilliant yellow color, and with it, security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity. Breathing out, clinging, neediness, obsessive thoughts, and worry as a murky colored yellow. Breathe in, security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity as a brilliant yellow, and exhale the murky yellow, alleviating all your clinging, neediness, obsessive thoughts, and worry. Last one, inhale, brilliant yellow, into the spleen, and with it, security, clarity, groundedness, and serenity, filling the spleen, and exhale out all of your clinging, neediness, obsessive thoughts, and worry as a murky colored yellow. And again, take a natural breath, let the visualization go. The next is the metal element. This sound soothes the lungs. So inhale a brilliant white color, like diamond sparkles, filling the lungs with inspiration, confidence, worthiness, and acceptance. And exhale out slowly, repeating the sound like S, 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 S between the teeth, breathing out the murky colored white, alleviating grief, sorrow, melancholy, and isolation. Breathe in the brilliant white sparkles into the lungs, and with it, inspiration, confidence, worthiness, and acceptance. Exhale out grief, sorrow, melancholy, and isolation as a murky colored white. Inhale. Brilliant diamond sparkles into the lungs with inspiration, confidence, worthiness, and acceptance. Breathing out while repeating the sound as a murky white color, all of your grief, sorrow, melancholy, and isolation. Breathing in, diamond sparkles, and inspiration, confidence, worthiness, and acceptance. Breathing out, the murky white color, alleviating grief, sorrow, melancholy, and isolation with the sound. Last one. Inhale. Brilliant diamond sparkles into the lungs and fill them with inspiration, confidence, worthiness, and acceptance. Exhale out with the sound, the murky white color that alleviates your grief, your sorrow, your melancholy, and feelings of isolation. And then take a natural breath and let the visualization go. And smile down on your lungs and thank the lungs for the job that they do in receiving the pure chi from the heavens and invigorating every cell. Thank the lungs for the job that they do. The next is the kidneys, the two fist-sized organs in back of the ribs on either side of the spine. Let your awareness come to the kidneys. And the sound for the kidneys is fu, F-O-O-O, fu, fu. So the sound soothes the kidneys. Inhale brilliant blue color into the kidneys, filling them with courage, strength, vitality, and wisdom. Exhale slowly while repeating the sound fu, breathing out murky colored blue, alleviating fear, panic, timidity, and doubt. Breathe in the brilliant blue color into the kidneys with courage, strength, vitality, and wisdom. Exhale slowly while repeating the sound fu and breathing out a murky colored blue that alleviates your fear, panic, timidity, and doubt. Breathe in brilliant blue color into the kidneys, and with it courage, strength, vitality, concentration. Exhale the murky blue color, and with it all of your fear, panic, timidity, and doubt. Breathing in brilliant blue to the kidneys, and courage, strength, vitality. Exhale slowly, repeating the sound fu that alleviates fear, panic, and timidity, and doubt as a murky colored blue. Breathe in the blue color to the kidneys, filling them with courage, strength, vitality, and wisdom. Breathe out fear, panic, timidity, and doubt as a murky colored blue. Last time, breathe in. Brilliant blue to the kidneys, and courage, strength, vitality, and wisdom. Exhale out slowly with the sound fu. Fear, panic, timidity, and doubt as a murky colored blue. Last time, breathe in blue to the kidneys. Fill them with courage, strength, vitality, and wisdom. Breathe out fear, panic, timidity, and doubt as a murky colored blue. Take a natural breath, let go of the visualization, and relax, relax, relax. The next sound is the he sound, H-E-E-E, he, which assists all of the elements. This sound relaxes the central nervous system and the cardiovascular system. It improves digestion and balances the endocrine system and brings balance and homeostasis to all the organs. We're going to breathe in a colorful rainbow, seeing the body like a glass tube, filling it with rainbow light, and breathe out any remaining murky color that may still be there. And breathe in the brilliant, colorful rainbow, like filling a glass container, hollow, brilliantly colored with rainbow light. And breathe out any remaining murky color. And now just breathe in the brilliant, colorful rainbow, and breathe out any remaining toxicity as a murky colored light of various colors. But breathe in the brilliant rainbow and breathe out until the body is just clear, brilliant light. Inhale the brilliant, colorful rainbow light. Breathe out. Imagine your body like a glass container full of rainbow light. Breathe out the sound he, and relieve stress, tension, and anxiety. Breathe in brilliant rainbow colored light. Exhale slowly, repeating the sound he. And imagine your body as a glass container full of rainbow light, relieving your stress, tension, and anxiety. Last time, inhale slowly, filling rainbow light, imagining your body a glass container full of rainbow light. Exhaling the sound he, and relieving any residual stress, tension, and anxiety. Take a natural breath, relax. Okay, we've taken it right to the minute, I think, here. So come on back. And if you have any comments about this exercise, if you were able to do it okay, if you had any problems with it, let me know. And we'll close here. We'll have, if there's any other questions, we can go over those questions. But that's it. I think we've done a good job of going through the 5 elements, the organ systems and all the correspondences, as well as the entire 8 petals. So I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Lama. There actually is a question there are a couple questions.
Okay.
And one of them is about the mold question, about
Yes.
coffee having mold in it. Okay, so
Right.
here's the question. The question is, does black tea contain mold?
It can. Yeah, yeah, it can.
Okay.
Because when they're dried, depending upon, and if they're older, they can it's been laying around for a while. Molds are very insidious. They grow on all kinds of things. So yes, can it? Yes, it can.
Okay. And then another question is, can the person is asking, is basically thanking you for sharing the teaching and saying, if we have future questions, may we contact you?
Yes, you may. We now are in relationship with one another. So yes, you can.
What I'll do, everyone, is when I share the videos this evening, I'll make sure that I put Lama's email address in the email to you, and that way you can be in touch with him. Additionally, we'll be talking with Lama about future programs on what I'm thinking of might be a deep dive into the 8 petals. So we'll see if we can organize those for everybody.
So I do, Zoom medical interviews with people. So if anyone wants a consultation, yes, get in touch with me and we can work that out as well. If you want to visit my website, this is davidbold.com. There are some things there. There's other videos that I have. They're up as well. So feel free to visit the site.
Thank you so much, Lama. And then there are several people who have put their appreciation. They're expressing appreciation. What a wonderful exercise. Thank you very much. And a couple of people are saying thanks. So we thank you.
So you can use this, using the colors, breathing into the organ with the colors and breathing out any residual negativity, as the murky colored light. And you can do this and smiling down. There's an exercise in Asian medicine where you go through each of the organs and thank them for the job that they do. So we kind of combined everything in that way. And so I think it is probably reproducible that you could do this on your own. And I encourage you to do it.
That's wonderful. And what I'm going to do, someone has asked for Lama's email address right this minute. So I will be also sending it to everybody who is registered, but hang on just a second. And I will copy it into the chat here. There you go. And that is something that you can copy down, and then we'll also have it in the email that we share this evening.
Yes, and if you look at davidbold.com, you might put that down as well, because there's other information there, and to our KTC and other insights that you might get from that.
Okay, got it. I'm putting that online now. There you go.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Yeah, on the chat. So once again, I want to thank everyone for your continued interest in the 8-petal lotus system and Lama Losang and his presentations. We're incredibly grateful to you, Lama, and so happy that we have had this opportunity to get to know you over these months. And because we started these programs last fall, or the fall before, and so I'm just really pleased that we had this opportunity to meet you and to learn these healing techniques from you. So it's like,
Yes,
we
me too.
dedicate
I've
your
enjoyed
merit.
it very much. It's been a pleasure for me too, and I appreciate the opportunity. And hopefully it's been a benefit, and anyone needs further information, please don't hesitate to ask.
Oh yeah, wonderful. And we will be in answer to someone who's just made a note in the chat. There will be a complete list of all the videos made available to you in this evening's email that you'll be receiving when we upload the videos for today's program. So you'll be able to share that. And these right now, I made a mistake when I first started publishing these, and I published them on my the Lama Kathy YouTube channel, but we're going to find a way. I'm going to talk with my buddies and see if we can cross post them to the Columbus KTC YouTube page so people can find them under KTC workshops. But we'll get you your own spot there, and people who want to watch these can watch them there.
Great.
So, well, Lama, would you do a dedication for us, please, to kind of pull all this amazing merit together?
Yes, I'd be happy to. So we dedicate the merit to the well-being of all sentient beings and ultimately their enlightenment. And we can use this as a vehicle for our own growth and development as bodhisattvas to benefit all sentient beings. May all beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the cause of suffering. May all beings experience great joy free from suffering. And may all beings come to rest in the great equanimity, having the same great love for all. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Lama.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you again.
Till the next time, take care.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll be pausing the recording here.